Oh, skipped ahead. This week is about understanding Project 2 from the vantage point of day 2 in week 3 for 2210. In the modules, there are more details to help you get started, and we'll go over some of that here. We'll review the following during this lecture to include what is the task list and more about collaboration since this is a group project. Consider what's happened with collaborative assignments in the past. Ask yourself what this experience taught you about working with others and working on your own to contribute to a larger task. Project 2 is all about being a good team member. Group projects often result in two polar opposite team members. There's the lackadaisical, that's what we'll call them, who believes they turn in assignments at clutch time and it's last minute for the win. Maybe we've all been there. There's also the overachiever who believes in turning in assignments a week ahead of time. And you could maybe even call them a control baron. I've been called that before. These types of people can be most toxic to a group project. Decide to relent and compromise, whether you see yourself as lackadaisical or as the control baron or maybe somewhere in between. For instance, if you're lackadaisical, instead of waiting for the last minute, how about compromising a day or two in advance and completing that group project? If you're an overachiever, recognize when your need for control may be stifling the group. So it's like step back and assess, maybe stop talking during a group meeting and instead solicit ideas from the group. Know that no one can be forced to do anything in a professional environment and through a lot of life. Consider how you can motivate and lift one another so that the project is bearable, maybe even fun, and most important of all, it gets effing completed. Part of staying calm and in control of a group project is being prepared. This is where the Project 2 task list comes into play. There are 7 items on the list, but only 3 of these are collaborative. Of the remaining 4 tasks, they should be assigned to individual group members, and only those people will get graded for these assignments. So, like we talked about in the last video lecture, there are 3 assignments for Project 2 in which you'll be graded as a group. These assignments should be created together, and only one person will be responsible for uploading these above assignments. That person is also responsible for making sure all parts of the assignment are completed by all teammates, but we'll talk about that later, making a checklist of sorts for the parts of Project 2. During the first group meeting that you should have with your group, in whatever way you want, review the task list and assign each group member one major and one minor assignment to be responsible for. There are a lot of things to take note of, and those are the notes at the bottom of the Google Doc. Some groups will have 5 team members, and so it will be harder to correctly assign everything. As long as one person's not responsible for too many things, one person should not appear on the list more than twice, especially if it's a 5-person group. If it's a 4-person group, I would expect to see some names twice, and that's okay. Avoid assigning one person 2 blue assignments, because then that means they're on the hook for 2 individual assignments to supplement everything for Project 2. They also have 2 major 60-point-ish assignments to deal with. So instead, make sure those blue items on the screen, one person per group gets assigned those things, and that you're not overloading that person with 2 blue assignments. During your first group meeting, like what you said, or I'm sorry, like what you see on the screen, place a teammate's name next to each task. Oh, I don't have that on the screen. But to help you and to help me, you could place your team members' names next to the tasks. You don't have to submit a task list to me in this way perfectly, but we will review how to complete the task list as part of the team charter. Basically, the task lists ensure that everyone's graded for individual assignments related to P2 and that everyone's held accountable, and it's more of a practical way to split up certain aspects of Project 2. Note that certain tasks like progress reports or the social component report or a vision slideshow, they're individual assignments, and if a teammate doesn't submit them, only their grade is impacted. You've heard that before, but I said it again just to remind you. If you're still confused about the task list and what sorts of assignments they are, review the P2 assignment slideshow and understanding concept section. It'll give you more clarification regarding these assignments. Group progress reports. In order to complete this assignment, you and your team have to have a group meeting first. After these meetings, even if it's only via text or a Google Doc, someone in the group will be assigned to draft a progress report updating me, pretending I'm your superior, on what the meeting entailed and anything else that you deem relevant. There's instructions for each progress report that are different. The password on the screen should go on the day 2 assignment that requests it. Please bold, italicize, or highlight the password so that it's easier to see and place at the top of the assignment if possible. When looking at the task list, you'll notice there are 2 progress reports to submit. Different people should be completing this assignment every time if possible. An initial progress report is more detailed than subsequent reports, and for a progress report, design is just as relevant as the text, meaning don't just submit a Word document of what happened during your meeting. Consider design, proofreading, and brevity before you submit. Based on the task list, your group will submit 2 progress reports total. The format or the look should remain consistent for both reports. So if a student named Caden submits the first progress report for the group, then the other student, Ariana, let's call them, should use the same template for their progress report, unless maybe Caden's design elements were initially lacking and then Ariana wants to make it look pretty. Go ahead and do that. So the team charter is the first instance of collaborative writing for your group, and it's due at the end of this week, week 3. It's a collaborative memo that establishes the rules for collaboration for your group. It's also where you document the project manager. Selecting a project manager is required, and you should do this during your first team meeting. You are not allowed to say, we don't have a team manager, because that never works and those teams crash and burn. I want you to succeed. More details about a team charter. Well, you can think of it like a syllabus. A team charter basically establishes rules and expectations for group conduct. You may never look at it again, but putting these ideas on paper, these expectations, will help you in your group. Everyone in the group should contribute 2 to 3 parts, ideally, of the team charter. You can work from a Google Doc link or something similar. At the top of the team charter submission, so at the top of your assignment, include a checklist of who contributed. On the screen, you'll notice a sample checklist, and that one name does not have a check mark. This means one teammate did not contribute to any part of drafting the team charter, and so whoever uploaded it based on team feedback left this blank. If you do not contribute to a group assignment, you will not receive a grade for it, and the checklist helps me and your team keep track. Because this is a group assignment, make sure that everyone has access to the workspace. Maybe it's a Google Doc or similar, and that everyone has access to and set an expected date on this workspace so that everyone in the group is aware when the document's going to be submitted. To that end, even though the assignment is due on a Sunday before 11:59 p.m. Eastern, all parts of the assignment have to be completed before then because it's collaborative, right? You can't wait till the last minute. So each team is allowed to set their own group due date that overrides my due date, as long as everyone in the group or everyone in the group that's responding to your texts or whatever decides, yes, that day and time works better. Like Saturday at 11:59 p.m. You and your group decide that's when all the finished parts are going to get submitted to the Google Doc. This date and time is at the top of the workspace for everybody to see. After this day and time, the document will be proofread, formatted, and submitted. Make sure when you decide on your group due date for an assignment, you email the group before that date, letting them know with a link to the workspace. And then a couple hours before you upload it, remind them, hey, the assignment will be uploaded and finished before this time, because this provides all team members a chance to submit the work. It also provides that accountability and expectations in event one or more teammate does not submit their parts. You should always have a backup plan in case this happens, because really it might. For any document type moving forward, look up design templates on Word, Canva, or other apps. Using a student sample is acceptable as long as you change the wording and as long as a memo looks like a memo and a letter looks like a memo, and etc. Missing out on project 2 means compromising 50% of your total grade for 2210. Even so, I've built in some safety nets, as I know group projects can go sideways. For instance, that's why the task list exists, to have some group assignments, but mostly individual graded assignments that are part of project 2. And then you also have those little tiny like homework assignments embedded in each module. Likewise, if you have a teammate that drops off the face of the earth, you're still expected to carry on with your recommendation report, but just know, based on what I observe from other teammates or maybe what I hear from them in the self-evaluations, I will grade your overall team participation in a separate assignment worth 100 extra points as part of P2. You don't have to submit anything to receive these 100 points. Just participate with your group, show up to meetings, and contribute successfully to the group assignments. Now that you've learned all of that, relax a little bit, because for week 3, completing a team charter is the only major thing that you have to do. Project 2 is going to get completed, I promise, and it's going to happen 1 week at a time. Don't worry about creating a template for the presentation already. Don't worry about finding a solution for the group professional problem already. All these little things will be scaffolded into the next few weeks and scaffolded into your larger recommendation report. Review the second checklist for week 3 that's on the screen. This sort of list is informal, or you can refer to the formal checklist in the modules. And any checklist will help you stay on track for what needs to be done. And then once you cross things off that list, you'll feel much better about getting that much closer to being done with this class. Essentially, you're halfway through with the course, and that's pretty cool. Now let's look at the upcoming assignments to finish out the week, so we understand that one thing that you have left, knowing that eventually you'll get to a finished product like this, but don't even worry about all these components yet. For this week, what you have to worry about to close out week 3 is a team charter. So the team charter reminds you the stuff we talked about with group checklists and group due dates. And it offers you also a sample that you can review. So you can download the sample and start filling it in for your team, but know that it's from a different semester, and some of these memo headers might be different from this new semester and the new expectations that I have for the team memo. So just, if you're going to work from the student sample, which is fine, make sure to have it alongside the student guidelines here, the assignment guidelines. So you're like, oh, we don't need that one part, or I need to add that part. So just make sure. So like we talked about in the video lecture, you have a checklist here. Maybe one team member never contributed to the Google Doc, so you're going to leave that blank. they never contributed their 2 to 3 parts of it, and that's okay. You're still gonna assign them stuff to do. So let's get to that. Assigning your team members stuff to do after you pick a topic. So there's 2 Google Docs assigned to this team charter. The first is making sure you put your group number somewhere so that you've staked a claim to a topic and that you are assigning a certain city to that as well. Boom, done. So you do that, and then you come back so you can start assigning tasks as well to each team member. This is not everything for project 2, but it's the major stuff that needs to get done. So you start looking at the dates and you discuss with each other what you could or maybe can't do based on the dates or what you want to do. And then look at the different notes and rules for assigning different people items, making sure that you don't assign the same person 2 blue components. I'm going to move this stupid box out of the way. And you could copy and paste it or use the one in the student sample, but the one in the student sample is way different. It has a lot more things. And just like the student sample though, next to each thing, put someone's name there. Even if they didn't respond to you or contribute, they still need to be assigned some stuff. And guess what? They get the stuff that nobody else wanted because they didn't show up to the meeting or contribute or whatever. But you still need to assign them stuff and make sure things are fairly allocated and that one person's name isn't for like 3 or 4 or 5 things. That should not be happening. Then review all the other stuff. These are headers. There's 8 headers that your team charter memo needs to have. It needs to be in memo format. We can see that from the student sample. It's memo format. They're using memo headers to move through the different parts of it. They don't have a sign off like sincerely because it's not a letter and it's not an email. It's a memo, and that's not how you end a memo. If you want to see how I'm going to grade the assignment, you can click there. And I will also offer you feedback on your topic choice and other stuff about your topic in either a separate email or something. So make sure you upload that on time according to your group due date. Upload it on time and include that checklist. Reach out with any questions and we'll talk next week more about project 2.